Our headliner tonight is Agostino Pintus. Agostino was born in a small town in Ontario, Canada, and as a young entrepreneur, he moved to the United States and started over a dozen different tech-related companies before finding success with a technology-based financial company, which led him to markets like Chicago, Detroit, and New York City. Now he serves as the Chief Innovation Officer for Bell Technologic. He has interviewed hundreds of people who have a strong personal interest to grow as leaders. This has caused him to invest in more than 10,000 hours into books, podcasts on topics including leadership, self-development, psychology, and business. He now spends a great deal of time inspiring and consulting leaders to help teams be motivated and engaged. He truly believes that the more you learn, the more you earn. And when he's not helping others succeed, he's studying the martial art Muay Thai. I had to pronounce that on YouTube today 3 times. And boxing 5 days a week, so don't get cross with him. Please help me welcome Agostino to the Spark stage.
Thank you. 2015, Atlanta, Georgia. The shutdown, the largest cheating scandal in U.S. history. 137 teachers and principals were found to be changing test scores on students' applied standardized tests. A jury convicted 11 of these teachers for rigging these tests. A felony that carried up to 20 years in prison. Now, a few years prior, back in 2009, Bernie Madoff, I'm sure you guys know about this guy, pled guilty to numerous federal felonies, and he admitted to converting his wealth management firm into a giant Ponzi scheme. He defrauded thousands of people over $64 billion. He's now serving 150 years in prison. Now, what do these two diverse stories have in common? Is that they both show a lack of integrity, and how this lack of integrity has led to a really bad outcome for both. So, over the past couple of years, I'm spending a great deal of time reading and investing a great deal of time in podcasts as well, really focused on authors, psychologists, and entrepreneurs to truly understand integrity and why the path for some is more clear than it is for others. Now, have you ever asked yourself, how far can integrity take you? Now, people see it as the least common attribute that one can have, but it's the most attribute most people look for. Integrity can open up so many doors for you. So hopefully this talk will shed some light on this subject of integrity. So when you see a lack of integrity, it's very easy to spot, all right? But it's one of those things, it's intangible. It can't be measured, it can't be touched, but it can't be sensed, and it is demonstrated through our actions. When someone does not show integrity, you spot it right away. So think of this now. If you have something really troubling weighing on your mind, now who would you want to talk to? Would you talk to someone that's like insincere, someone who's sneaky or dishonest? I mean, I know I wouldn't. What kind of value can you get out of someone like that? You want to speak with someone that's honest, that's trustworthy, that can really offer you something that will help you really build your own personal growth. Maybe it's someone like your teacher, your parent, your rabbi, whoever. But it's going to be someone that you believe is going to have integrity. But ultimately, what is integrity? How do you define it? Well, if we translate it into Mongolian, we get this. Now, I'm not going to try pronouncing this, all right? It's hard enough to define in English as it is. But what we can do is maybe break it up into 4 parts, and let's talk about it in this fashion. So, if we take integrity, it's from the root word integra, which means whole, complete, untouched. And about 2,000 years ago or so, the Greek philosophers discussed the virtues of integrity, and they defined it as someone that's loyal, honest, and brave, and that the person's character should be whole. And this led us thinking about character. Now, and character is defined as someone who's going to be consistent with their actions. They're the same person, even when nobody's looking. They're always going to do the right thing. And they're the same person in public and private as they are in public. And then in the 16th century, the whole meaning of the word shifted from meaning whole to uncorrupted, as in doing the right thing. And later still in the 18th century, people argued, people like Voltaire, Mozart, and Haydn, that the church was not the supreme moral authority. They said a person can have their own moral compass. They should know the difference between right and wrong. Even the Freemasons espoused this. And they encourage all their members to pursue lives filled with integrity, honesty, and love for all mankind. So this came to the whole conclusion about being authentic. And everything you say, feel, and think and do are all in alignment. And this becomes a natural result of integrity. And then there's a fourth meaning, in that you have principles for what you believe in and stand for, even if it means it's going to cause you some great difficulty. And now Edward Snowden comes to mind here. Now, if you guys have not been following this story, he's the one that blew the whistle on the NSA surveillance programs that the Bush and Obama administrations have been running on the people like us. Now, and it's easy to see why he blew the whistle. Or it conflicts with the Fourth Amendment. Now, people can argue that, did he do the right thing or not? But ultimately, he stood for what he believed in. And he paid the ultimate price. Well, not ultimate, I suppose. But he paid a hefty price, regardless. I mean, he was charged with theft, and he ended up moving to India, sought asylum out there, and that's where he's been ever since. Now, there's so much meaning and history around this word, but I think that maybe an example might be better suited to help explain integrity. So Mahatma Gandhi is one that comes to mind. Now, he's a famous Indian statesman that led some massive change for the people of India that resonates this very day. And oftentimes, he would set times when people can come see him, talk to him, and ask him questions. Well, in the 1930s, this young boy who was obsessed with sugar. This kid loved sugar, all right? And his mother was obviously troubled by this. She tried everything to get him to stop. She tried badgering him, taking the sugar away from him, no matter what. This kid just had a way, and he got his hands on it. So she decided that she was going to take him to see Gandhi. He was this kid's hero. So back then, there's no cars, no taxis, no Uber. She had to get on a 2-hour trip, one way, just to get out there and to see Gandhi. She brought the boy with him and across the countryside, 2-hour-long trip. She gets there, and she tells Gandhi about her long, difficult journey and shares with him her problem. She says, "Sir, my son, he's addicted to sugar. It's not healthy for him. Can you please ask him to stop?" Gandhi looks at her, thinks for a moment, and says, "Please come back in 2 weeks. I'll talk to him then." So she was rather puzzled, but she took the boy by the hand, went back home. 2 weeks later, she returned. She made the long trip back, just as he had asked. As soon as Gandhi saw them, got down on one knee and said, "Boy, you need to stop eating sugar. It's not good for your health. You have to promise me you're not going to do this." The boy looked back at him, nodded, and promised they would never do it. So another mother was puzzled. She said, "I was here 2 weeks ago. I spent 4 hours 2 weeks ago, another 2 hours today. Why couldn't you just tell him 2 weeks ago?" Gandhi looked at her, smiled, and whispered in her ear, "2 weeks ago, I was eating a lot of sugar." Right? So this is integrity, all right? He knew he had a moral obligation to tell this kid something, but he had to be authentic. He had to stick to his principles, right? And he knew that he couldn't tell somebody not to eat sugar if he was still doing it himself. But ultimately, it's still, I don't know if that's still good enough to explain how to apply integrity in your daily life. And one way to do it is to use a newspaper test. All right, so the newspaper test is something that you might consider in your mind to be questionable. And then you ask yourself, what if my friends, my family, my coworkers saw what I'm about to do and it's splattered on the front page of the paper tomorrow? If that thought makes you uncomfortable, then it should not be done. But ultimately, integrity is a conscious decision, right? You have to do what you say, or others lose trust in you. And at the same time, when others don't do what they say they're going to do, you lose trust in them. It matters in all areas of your life: relationship, work, and community. It is the key to sustaining growth and attaining success in everything that you do. And really, it's about being honest and trying to have high moral principles. It's as tough as it is. It really is essential for building your own self-esteem and for building success. I mean, integrity for me is sometimes tough too. I mean, I choose the harder right over the easier wrong, and I feel good about myself. But you'll soon realize that when you have clarity in your own life and you commit to the things that you do, all the important things, everything gets done. So now integrity is your most trusted friend. It helps keep your priorities straight and helps you keep the right path. Integrity should be integrated into your character beyond choice. This means honoring your values and resisting temptation when it appears before you. Integrity requires us to show compassion because doing so makes us fully human. And finally, integrity should be applied to being reliable and predictable and see commitments that you make all the way through to the end. As you keep your word, they become more powerful, and it actually starts meaning something. Your whole reality starts changing around you. Because as you speak from a place of integrity, everything you think, everything you feel will manifest themselves, and people do notice. And when that does happen, you know that you'll be on the path to personal integrity.